Howdy, lieutenants and economists.
The most volatile, evil, disgusting things on the planet, humans. If you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com.
Yeah, I am gonna charge you, kids. And that is the importance of not fucking up.
You are such an asshole!
How you kids doing, Asshole Consulting? Let's go over here and get the work done. Hey, Aaron, I know you usually don't like psychology, but can you... I love psychology. I love it. It's not a discipline. It's not a real field. It's not a science. Neurology is. Neurochemistry is. Some psychological studies are very interesting, and they even do yield some tangible results, but on the whole... Well, you see, it all goes back to your first pet. It's called pet behavior cognitive analysis. It's a word I just pulled out of my ass. But can you explain why the left is getting more insane given the economic prosperity we are currently going through? Traditionally, socialism rises when there is a social class suffering or an entire nation is going through economic turmoil. Not necessarily. In regards to the United States, however, we have 4.1% GDP mean growth, and the Atlanta Fed predicts it rising possibly to 4.5%. Yes, maybe this quarter. In addition, we have the lowest unemployment in all the demographic and both genders, and wages have finally started rising faster than inflation. Why is the left still getting more rabid given all the good that has been created under this administration? They don't even say for the little guy anymore. Yeah, no, you're right. It's not. That's why Trump won. The Democrat Party is not the hard-working union guys welding steel beams or working in coal mines. It's the effete elite, spoiled, rotten academic class sitting in air-conditioned buildings telling the whole world how they should be ran and demanding government funding for pontificating more money. I mean, that is boiled down. That is what the Democrat and Socialist parties are. They don't even say that. They straight up say, yes, we are socialists. Your thoughts, Cappy? All right. You're wrong. Your premise is wrong. Socialism can form for multiple reasons, not just necessary economic turmoil. In Soviet Russia came about because they basically had slavery. They called it serfdom, but it was basically slavery. And you had the czars and the monarchical class, the royal class. And the serfs just basically, I'm summarizing, shortening a lot of Russian history very quickly. They went from slavery, serfdom, to communism. And even though we look at communism as bad, that actually was an improvement. It actually was. Now, I don't know mentally, socially, or psychologically if that was an improvement because of the wrong thing in the site. Everything was the state. But the standards of living did improve for the majority of people going from slavery, because they were slaves, to communism, which is not a great endorsement because anything's better than slavery. I mean, death would probably be better than slavery. But that was, any economic system probably would have been better than that, including communism. Although, now if you look at communism in North Korea, it is slavery. But if you look at, say, Pol Pot and Mao under China, that is pure greed and envy. There was a civil war precipitating China and the communist takeover of China, where you had the nationalists, kind of similar to Cuba. You had Batista versus Castro. But in those cases, in Pol Pot, it was rank envy, jealousy, and lies. People want to believe the lie that, we are entitled to other people. these rotten bastards are keeping their money for themselves. And there was some, I'll grant you this, wasn't like the nationalists like under Chiang Kai-shek or Batista in Cuba, like they're all clean and meritocracy either. This is where the right has to learn, look, you got to make it fair. You can't buddy and give deals to one another. You have to make it a level playing ground. So it wasn't, if Republicans and conservatives and libertarians and just capitalist parties around the world really want to win over the people, maybe you should stop fucking giving each other back deals and truly make it a meritocracy. Maybe. But anyway. On the other hand, that's like, I'd say 20% of it. which gave the communists the thing to point to and say, hey, look at that. But now let's not kid ourselves. This is why I find humans disgusting. Most people think they're entitled. Most people have no moral qualms living off of other people. And if you got somebody coming and say, hey, we can live off of other people because we're entitled, and there's like some faux lie. Oh, you're entitled because you're oppressed. Why? Choose it from the menu of Democrat talking points. Your race, your gender, your eye color. Did you fart on Friday? Do you have the hud-to-hud-to-huz? Do you have the bipolars? Do you have, oh, I got dyslexia. Oh, I spelled tie instead of it. Oh, give me government money. That is where, don't even. I can't even. I'm talking to the millennials in their language so they understand. Where was I going with this? Oh, why things? And then now, which I'm going to explain here in the United States, I think there's some of that, obviously some laziness, jealousy, greed, envy, and sloth on the part of the masses. I'm entitled to other people's money. But humans cannot get enough of that I get to live for free shit. Because it's a great survival strategy. And how easy is it? I just get to sit here and eat bonbons and jerk off to porn or study women's studies and think I have a career. And the government will make me a career. They'll make work government jobs that don't produce jack all shit for the rest of society. But I'm a professor. I mean, that's just women's studies. That's all of academia except STEM. Yeah, people are going to vote for that. They're going to go for that. And then they wonder why nothing's getting produced and the shelves are empty in Venezuela. So, here in the United States, I think it's a little bit different, but there's a cycle, and this one is where we go to a socialism, unless it didn't necessarily happen in Rome, although to some extent it did with free bread and circuses. We're too successful. We're too spoiled. There's too much wealth, and we're beyond the point of wealth. We are now borrowing money to keep up standards of living. Let me give you an example, which I saw many times working in banking. And this applies nationwide. I'm just going to give you an example of what's happening in one person's life. There were several guys that would come in always asking to extend and pretend the loan. And you would look at them, and they had a Mercedes, they'd have a Beamer, they'd have an RV, SUV, luxury. They had a house that was worth, $1.7 million. A couple had horses. There were horses involved, either a farm or a wife who had a farm. They didn't have the farm. And the kids had the best. Kids were going to private school, all this other stuff. And the dad, the father, the husband, was the only one producing any kind of wealth or money. He had the job. Now, usually, he was making damn good money. But he spent so much more than what he made to keep the wife and the daughters and the sons and the Thaddeus's and the Chads happy. And you got to see what it was like in the bowels of the Titanic of these guys. And their finances were horrible. Their debts were always going up because they're spending more than they make, and that's basically it. They were spending more than they make, and they would borrow money to keep this lifestyle up. And that's essentially where the United States is now. We make a lot of money. We're still the largest economy in the world. Yes, our economy is growing recently, not so recently, but recently we've broke the 4% mark. I think that's short term. So yeah, these are, I'm not doubting your economic, and unemployment is low, but you got to look at our debts. We are running what is essentially a unsustainable and parasitic economy. And the reason I say that is if we were producing more than what we spend, we would not have deficits either on the trading balance or the government balance. There is debt being accrued. And in the private sector, although private debt, household debt, has actually stagnated relative to GDP. But government debt more than doubled under Obama. Bush didn't help either. Trump is not going to help much either. We spend more than we make. This is not sustainable. Now, that inevitably comes to a close. That inevitably comes to an end. All things that are unsustainable will end. It's a law of physics, law of nature. But you can extend and pretend for quite some time as long as you get other people to lend you money. In the case of the dude bros, ancient, aged dude bros, trying to make it look like they had everything and trying to make their McMansion wives with their McMansion lives happy, they would come to the bank and borrow more money. And my bank, against my wishes, would keep lending them. Well, you don't understand. I do understand. I do understand. They'd lend them money. Well, who lends the United States money? Foreigners, because actually when you think about it, where a country who lends the money can only be foreigners, only foreign countries. And domestically, we can lend the government money and interlending within domestic peoples. But we get money from foreign governments or foreign countries, foreign people, foreigners, period. He said, well, why would they lend us money? Well, this is where the world's reserve currency comes in. Rome had the same thing, where we're stable, we got a large nuclear power, we're the biggest game in town. So we can back up our currency either through military means or the vast production. We still do produce a lot of stuff in the United States. We're also very uncorrupt. Very uncorrupt. This is where it's very important that you understand how the world reserve currency works. Because essentially, since we're so uncorrupt, relatively speaking, any other country that wants to try and become the new world's reserve currency has to have the faith of the world. And when you look at Russia and China and Brazil, growing as they might, producing real things as they might, they are horrendously corrupt. Trust is a huge issue. The Chinese government, okay, it's very, very capitalist in some regards, but it still is communist in many other regards, and the corruption is horrendous in China. Russia, same thing. And if you want to be the world's reserve currency, like the best thing Russia and China could do right now, if they really want to win on the global stage, they won't do it because all politicians are corrupt, is they would just crack down on corruption and try and become as uncorrupt as like a Switzerland or the Scandinavian countries. Then the yuan, the renminbi, the Chinese currency, or the ruble, or if Brazil cracked down, I think it's inherent in their cultures. People would say, well, I trust China more, and they have economic growth, and they have no debts. Well, although China does have a lot of debts in other regards. Anyway, the point is that we, like that guy spoiling his family, it's unsustainable. He's running deficits. But that doesn't matter. The money is still being spent on the children and the wifey poo. And in the United States case, it's the population. The spoiled, rotten pieces of shit that we have as American citizens today. And just like that money, debt or equity spending didn't matter. It was still dollars. Wifey poo got her horses. Children poo got their brand new cars at 16 that they'd wrap around a tree, and they went to Wayzata High School. Look it up. It's like Winnetka. They all start with W. All the rich kind of Wilmington. Is Wilmington the rich part of Delaware? I don't know. And just as wifey poo was spoiled with horses and children poo were spoiled with brand new Beamers, we spoil the American people with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, now Obamacare, government loans for student debt. We create entire industries for the lazy and talentless in our country. We have social work programs, we have educational programs, we have after-school programs, we have counseling programs. You look at all the people that the government hires to pamper and coddle and just, this problem, at the state, federal, and local levels. Government grants going for this thing to help the children, raise awareness, all this, raise awareness and all that. Yes, on the math, it translates to GDP, but raising awareness produces nothing of value. It's not a tax service like, Chad Elkins, ElkinsCPA.com. You pay him $100, he does your taxes. Production. You pay Asshole Consulting some money. I give you some worldly advice that saves you money down the road. Production. You pay Bob at the Ford Motor Company on the assembly line. He fixed the widgets and the steering wheel, and there's a car. Production. But if you look, I'd say, it's hard to assess this. I'd have to go into the NIPA accounts and kind of tally it up. But I would say a good 25%, if not 30% of, quote, GDP and production is government work jobs that go to employ worthless liberal arts. Libraries, here's a perfect example. We don't need libraries anymore. We have the internet. I'm not saying you shouldn't have physical books, but you don't need anywhere near the libraries that we have. But we paid librarian Jones, $70,000 for a master's degree in librarian studies, and she did the thing with the stuff, and here's some books. Does that produce anything? No, it doesn't. That's way, but that accounts for GDP. Anyway, so this in part explains, we have some high economic growth figures, but the amount of money that we're spending on people today to spoil them and have them avoid any real work and toil that's required of working in the real world to actually support oneself, they've been shielded from that. So it's happening in the United States. It's kind of the opposite of how the Soviet Union formed. is we have spoiled people so much that it's more like Rome. People are fat. They're lazy. Rome relied on slave labor. We don't really rely on slave labor as much as we rely on, well, slave labor in China and overseas and our world reserve currency to buy that. We do kind of rely on slave labor in an indirect way through our world reserve currency. And even though we are spending more than we take in, we are spoiling and making our population soft. And you could see that in social justice warriors. The millennials are the latest off the assembly. I mean, look at them. They can't even support themselves at 30. I mean, they are a laughable joke as a group, as a generation. Certainly we know there are some very hardworking and productive millennials, but as a group, they're the worst, I mean, in terms of work, self-supportation. And this gets to another thing. You talk about unemployment. Yes, unemployment is at I don't want to say historically low, but very, very, very low records. But you don't consider labor force participation, which is what percent of the population actually works. And labor force participation has recently been going down because now the economy is so compelling, people are finally coming back. But it's been increasing. The long-term trend has been to decrease. The percent of the population that is working is actually going down, in part because people are retiring earlier, men are retiring earlier, but also because laziness. We spoil people rotten. You don't want a job? Fine, here's some money. Oh, you can stay in college for the rest of your life. No, you need a grant. You need this. You need that. And so, yes, the unemployment rate looks good, but that's only for people looking for jobs. When you factor in those who aren't even bothering looking for jobs because they're lazy, who aren't in the labor force, well, then you see much more rot occurring and going on there. So let me go to my notes here. All right. So we talked about labor force participation. It's going down. Debt spending going up. Where you see good economic figures, they have misled you to the wrong conclusion. What's really happening is that with debt spending, let's also not include technology, and the economy has been growing, we have spoiled and made our population lazy. Okay? The final thing, I think, the additive that you add to the mixture that makes it cemented and hard is brainwashing and education. Oh man, you always say that college and K through college is just an indoctrination. It is. It is. I mean, you might learn some stuff along the way, but we have an indoctrination program. It's called K through college education. It's not a shock that 100% of kids, I got a couple emails from clients and like, they did a poll and 100% of the kids wanted Hillary to be voted. It's like, 100%? You know where that happens? Dictatorships. That's where that happens. There is no, there's no thought. There's 100% indoctrination going on. And so when you throw in this additive of educational brainwashing for leftists, you have a huge push towards socialism, especially amongst the young and the stupid, which is oxymoronic. They already are stupid because they're young. They get wise as they get older. And that is why I think we are moving towards socialism, not just in the United States, but over in Europe as well. The government and the socialist states and forces control media, education, and here in the United States and around the world, technically, the monopolies of big tech, big media like Google, Facebook, Twitter, and stuff like that. They do more censoring and pearl-clutching. Oh my God, he said to lower taxes, ban. But the real work is done with the army of social workers and education majors and liberal arts majors that are employed and taking care of the kids, because you guys don't want to take care of your own damn kids. You ship them off to daycare and pre-K. Oh my God, we need pre-K. Because we got to bore the kids with politics at 3 years old. That when you throw in the brainwashing, you throw in the indoctrination, and you just throw more money, and then you never let these kids ever get exposed to the real world. You know, nobody's working jobs when they're teenagers anymore. No one's delivering pizzas. No one's got a paper route. And then you ship them to college, and it's just doubled up, and then they're paying, and then they're crippled with debt. Then you have all these government hey, you can work for this government I get it. And it's just crumbs, basically, because it's not enough. They're producing way more parasites than there's government programs to go and parasite off of them. Then also, and then these kids they're up shit creek when it comes to their finances. They're completely conditioned to say the government needs to bail us out, just like the banks. They need to bail us out like the banks. Even though they hated the banks getting bailed out, they're okay morally with being equally parasitic upon the rest of the society. So I think that is where the United States and the West, and today the big push for socialism is people are weak, they're lazy, they've never, perfect example. Teachers actually think they have a real, can they not stop bitching and whining about how hard it is to be a teacher? They've never worked another job in their life. They work 9 months out of the year. They have no idea how easy a job that really is. You want a hard job? Go work in a meat locker plant. Go work on an oil rig. Go be an electrician. Teaching is hilarious. It's a joke. Sit here in this climate-controlled room, watch over some kids. And by the way, the state will tell you what to say. You don't even have to come up with a lesson plan. Here's a pre-organized lesson plan for you. And then you got to grade people. Oh my God, I spend so much time grading papers. Well, maybe you should come up with a more efficient for grading papers. And before you all start yelling at me, I'm a teacher, you never taught. I was a teacher one time. I know what it's like. And it was really easy. Probably. Okay, easiest job I ever had was working night security where you just sit. All right, that's the easiest job. Second easiest job is where I was a courier just driving flowers around, worked in landscape. But then there was landscaping where we laid sod and put in retaining walls. That's called labor. I don't know if you education majors know about that. But a close third is, hey kids, I'm going to stand here and talk a little bit. And by gosh, it's nice not being outside where it's -10 like the telephone lineman today as the ice storm came in. And hey, there's electricity and heat, and here's some drawings, and all right, now here's an assignment, and okay, I got my little hole punched out thing to boop, 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 boop. Oh, hey, and look, I'm smart enough not to make it 17 questions, but 20, so I can immediately grade it like 7 wrong, that'd be 65%. But teachers don't know how to do the math. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Where was I going? I just love slamming on teachers. Anyway, they're soft. They're weak. They're the little kidsy poo that have their swimming lessons and hockey lessons and flippy lessons and thisy lessons and that lessons and free food. And they don't have to work, and daddy will take care of everything. And then there's wifey poo who likes to buy bags and more bags and then shoes. Oh, here's another bag, and I have my SUV. I have my what do they drive? Range Rovers. They drive Range Rovers. And I have my horses. Yeah, I like the horses. I just pet it and stroke it. Yeah. Ladies, for a fraction of a cost, like it's free, you can pet and comb something else. For free. It's a little more fun. Your husband won't go into debt for it. Might spruce up your sex life a little bit. Anyway. I come in and I play with it. It's just so wonderful. And you don't have to get a stable. You don't have to feed it. Well, sometimes it likes a little meat, if you know what I'm saying. All right. It's enough. It's crass. So yes, that's why we're moving towards socialism, because people are lazy and parasitic. They've never been forced to support themselves. The mother bird has never pushed the baby bird out. I'm like, oh shit, I better fly. I had one of those moments when I was very young. I moved out of the house. I'm like, sink or swim. But we never let people sink. We never do that now. And then we lie to people saying, you're entitled. You have a right to free everything. Rights? No. You don't have a right to other people's money. And that's essentially what, I have a right to food, I have a right to housing, I have a right. No, you don't. That's because other people got to provide that for you. So you have a right to enslave other people. That's very literally what the economic platform of the Democrat Party is slavery. But you have the right to not have things happen to you. Like, you have the right to not have your freedom of speech taken away, unless you're a monopoly like Google or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Although Twitter, I got to be honest, they have, that Jack Dorsey guy has been holding. I'm impressed with him. You have the right not to be assaulted in public. You have the right not to have your wealth confiscated. Unless it's by the state, then it's okay because it's going to help out poor people. But that you even have people thinking they're entitled. Think how delusional this is. They're entitled to have everything paid for in life. And then you got to ask them, well, then who's going to produce the stuff that's necessary to support your life? Food just doesn't fall out of the sky. Roads don't pave themselves. Electricity isn't generated by God farts. Right? Other humans have to spend their time working on this massive infrastructure called the economy to provide the goods and services that is necessary to keep you alive. But the Democrats keep people, really, people think the government and the God is just this entity and other people take care of it. Now, I'm born and I should have. It's like, no, you have to work. And deep down inside, people know that. They're just hypocrites, liars, and scoundrels, and evil, despicable people when they act, oh, I'm entitled. You hate me because, when they look and scramble, oh, because of this color of my skin. Oh, shit, it's white. Because I got the bipolar. I have the bipolars. I got the bipolars. Ha, 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 ha. You got to give me money now. That's it. That's how despicable and pathetic this current generation is, and heaven help us what Gen Z is going to turn out to be like. Oh, my God. So that's what's pushing us towards socialism. Standard old, good old American spoiled rottenness, laziness, sloth, gluttony, evil, parasitism, entitlement, and evil. I don't believe for a second these people don't know what they're doing. They know. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. The most amount of energy a Democrat or socialist spends their money on is acting like they don't know any better. So, all right, that's it. You guys got questions, Cappy's got answers over at assholeconsulting.com. See you guys later, toodles.